What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Live Show. It is Friday, TGIF. We have a monster 14-game main slate on tap for everybody here today. Grande was on the playbook. That is out live for everybody to go check out there on fantasyalarm.com right now. James, what are your initial thoughts here on 14 games? Tell me how you feel about having a 14-game slate.
And back to you, John. I mean, look, I think that there's a lot of different directions you can go with that question specifically. We personally, you and I are hand builders, right? We build our lineups by hand, with our hands, in the dirt, in the mud, right? Mostly in the mud, mostly in the dirt. 14 games is a lot when you're hand building lineups and you don't use optimizers or generate and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a lot. I do like when there's 14 games and no cores because I feel like things are more balanced and there's nothing in the back of my mind saying like, man, do I need to play cores on a 14 game slate? So I like it like this. I love if there is a 14 game slate that I like, it's like today where there is very top tier pitching. Yeah. There's really good value tier pitching, and there's also elite bats. And I think that there's also a lot of really good stacks that might go under-owned that we can take a look at. So, I don't necessarily like 14 games isn't my top choice, but I do think today's slate is like very balanced offense and all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I feel like today's slate, especially, we kind of get lucky in a sense where I think there's pretty clear paths to lineup construction. Especially like you said, in the pitching, we have some value guys that we're comfortable in, more confident than often in some of these lower tiers. And we like the top end pitching. So I think you can kind of mix and match however you want to go there. But when it comes to lineup building and players we're looking to key in on, I agree. I think that there's some very clear spots for us to go. So we appreciate you all tuning in. If you can hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button for us over on YouTube, over on X. It is a free way to support the work we do here over on Fantasy Alarm. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, now, of course, is the best time to sign up and join. Promo code Let's Go. Get that first month for less than $20. You can scan that QR code right there on the screen. That will include your fantasy football draft guide and fantasy football cheat sheets. If you have a draft tonight, like I do, or this weekend, like I also do, or next week, like I do, and everybody else will have, you can get that as part of your all-pro package. Again, less than $20. That draft guide itself is $28. The cheat sheet's $24. You can get them both for $19.97, I think it is, and it includes your first month, which means you get the first 3 weeks of the NFL DFS season included as well. So this is really the best time right now to try us out for that first month. FantasyAlarm.com/win, promo code Let's Go to check it all out and get action in the All-Pro there as well. So, all right, let's jump in. Pitching, Sale, Castillo, Rodon, top three price guys, Hunter Brown, Tanner Bybee, and Nathan Eovaldi in the 9K tier as well. Last night, I just jumped into Carlos Rodon. He's in all of my pick'em articles today for Underdog, Sleeper, and Prize Picks. He has that matchup against the Rockies on the road as a lefty. Is he your 1A today?
Yeah, I mean, so like, there's obviously a lot of things to like. He has the highest strikeout total set on DraftKings at 8.5. That's higher than Chris Sale. He's about even with Chris Sale in terms of pitchers to record a win. Carlos Rodon minus 125. Chris Sale was minus 130. And it's actually ballooned for Chris Sale, 145. But Carlos Rodon, nevertheless, minus 125 to get a win, right? So, the difference between the two pitchers, obviously, is that one is 11-1 and one's $9,700. I do think on a slate-to-slate basis, Chris Sale has the higher combination of floor ceiling. And I don't think you would argue that. It's hard to, right? Chris Sale has 3 straight games of 10 plus strikeouts. Rodon doesn't. And he's been good, but he's also hasn't been going deeper into games. There's been a lot of walks and pitch count issues lately. But the matchup with Colorado is just as good as it gets. I said it in the playbook, and like you were spot on with your analysis about Corbin yesterday. If Patrick Corbin can do it, really anybody can, right? At this point, it's like
6 innings, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts for Patrick Corbin yesterday.
So like you're talking about a Rockies team. They're 23rd in the league in OPS this year, right? That's factoring in cores into the equation. They're 27th when you remove them from cores, and they have a 30% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. So I'm definitely in on Rodon. To answer your question, I would say he's the 1A of the tier. Chris Sale is right behind him. To get Chris Sale and 2 elite bats is tough, but I think there's enough value if you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Had a talk about Detroit in the chat. That's obviously a way that a lot of people are going to go, the direction a lot of people are going to take for value, considering how cheap Detroit is. So I think Sale is 2, and then I think Luis Castillo, not to be anti-Castillo, I think he's 3rd, still perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers are hilarious. Luis Castillo at home, 2.85 ERA, 27% strikeout rate, 21 DraftKings points per game. Luis Castillo on the road, 4.35 ERA, 21% strikeout rate, 14 DraftKings points per game. So we lose 7% on the strikeout rate. We lose 7 DraftKings points. We're up a run and a half on our ERA. So I like using Rodon 1, Sale 2, Castillo 3, but I do think they're all elite plays in their own right.
Yeah, no, for sure. The strikeout rate to me, I think, is what stands out. We talk a lot, and they've mentioned before, like, Teoscar Hernandez, former Mariner, was like, listen, like the backdrop in Seattle, like I couldn't really see the baseball as much. Luis Castillo's out here pumping 94 strikeouts in 85 innings because nobody can see where the ball's coming from, right? Like, it's just a pitcher's advantage there in Seattle. So I'm liking all of those. Again, nothing against sort of the guys below them. You have the Bibee and Eovaldi matchup. I don't want to really attack either pitcher in either spot here. Hunter Brown, I said yesterday, I like Spencer Arrighetti because those numbers against lefties were pretty legit. I'm not necessarily diving into Hunter Brown tonight against Baltimore, knowing that he's going to be facing all those lefties here today. So going to be out on him at 94 when you have Rodon for $300 more. Under 9K, you have Bassett, you have Waka, Blackburn, Sears, Musgrove, and Gore in those matchups.
So, like, I'm personally not using anyone in this tier. I have 3 lineups tonight. I'm not using anyone. I think if anyone is, Chris Bassett obviously makes sense. $8,800 against the Angels. He also struggles against lefties. Angels have a couple good lefties in their lineup. But 8,800 is a little pricey for me. So I'm okay with Bassett. And then Sears in tournaments, I'm okay with. Like, you look at Milwaukee, they haven't been great against lefties in terms of like power. And JP Sears has been just, I don't know. This is obviously the best 4-game stretch of his career. And now, not exactly
like hints of dominance out of him,
always.
Right? Like,
yep.
There's, the numbers don't always look good on the back of the baseball card when the season's over, but there are stretches in matchups in games where you're like, JP Sears out here throwing 7 shutout with 9 strikeouts. Where did that come from? And it's because there is talent. There's no consistency, right? So like, but sometimes it just takes something to click. And right now we got 4 straight starts of him being pretty dominant now. 2 of those starts against a San Francisco team that's one of the highest strikeout rates in baseball against left-handed pitching. The White Sox, we know, struggle. Toronto, I think you can say, is probably the toughest matchup, and they were the ones that did the most damage against him. But even then, 18 fantasy points and a win. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Home ballpark benefits as well against Milwaukee here. I'm definitely liking Sears. I guess the question would be whether or not there's any win equity here for him in this spot.
Yeah, that is obviously an issue. Because I actually really like Aaron Savale on the other side of that matchup. It's not someone that you and I talked about a lot on the preview show, if at all.
Yeah.
But then you look at Savale, and he's someone I've been like pretty high on and just have been suggesting that he's been unlucky, and it still is. But sometimes it's hard to like be like, well, maybe he's just going to be unlucky this year, and that's just what it's going to be, right? We said that about Tyler Anderson for the first 4 months of the year. Like maybe Tyler Anderson is just going to be lucky. But things have turned around for Savale since getting traded, and especially the last 2 starts. Now you get, both those starts where he's gone 6+, 20+ DraftKings points. It's an elite pitcher's park, and you're in a spot against Oakland, and they have a 25% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year. So I like Savale. Oakland's offense had obviously really hit like its stride, and then has only really kept it up against lefties. They're very middling and lower tier against righties now that like frame has cooled off, like they've cooled off a little bit. So I like Savale, and that obviously plays into the JP Sears win equity because, for $1,100 cheaper, I do think, Savale could get a win here. Milwaukee's leading their division, right? I think we both think they're the better team in this position. So I like Savale quite a bit at 72. I don't think he's the best value, but I do think he is more contrarian than the other 2 values that we're going to talk about.
Are you a believer in pitcher-catcher tandems going into the success of a starting pitcher?
Well, I watched a clip of Greg Maddux and Perez today about how Greg Maddux had movements that nobody ever caught on to, and he called his own pitches.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Yeah, I watched it.
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen, because as like a pitcher,
he just needed sign language, right?
Just needed sign language. Like as someone who pitched, right? That is amazing. Not something I ever would have thought of, right? That's why I am where I am, and
he is where he is.
Right. Maybe give me what you got.
All right. And the 2 starts where Danny Jansen has caught Brian Bayo, he has a 2 ERA and a 105 whip. Now you can laugh at the sample size because he obviously hasn't been there that long.
Yeah, it's 2 starts.
But he's got an over 5 ERA with the Connor Wong and Reese McGuire tandem, and a 2 ERA with Danny Jansen catching him. So thoughts? Brian Bayo last 2 starts looking pretty good. Any weight in Danny Jansen catching him here against Arizona?
I don't know if you've seen the numbers that I see when I look at Arizona's offense, but
they're one of the hottest teams in baseball coming into today.
They all hit righties extremely well. And that's like, I understand like there's some injuries. Maybe one of the most surprising things I noticed today was Jock Peterson's hitting 290 on the year, which is not what I expected. But like the additions of Del Castillo, Josh Bell, I mean, this has been like I said it to you last night on the stream. Brian Bayo's looked good. You were like, he's looked okay. I was like, no, he looks good. And you're like, yeah, he's looked good. I don't necessarily know or don't know if that has anything to do with Danny Jansen. Obviously,
they're starting him at catcher again today. So I mean, like, I think the team at least is riding the momentum, right? Like
comfortability. I mean, like, dude, you build reports. Like, I'm not saying that isn't the case, but also I'm not gonna bank on that being a reason I played Brian Bayo against one of the best offenses.
That's fine. Just want to call it out, see your thoughts.
He struggles. He struggles with lefty power, right? Yeah. Everywhere you look, Arizona is like, wow, that Jake McCarthy guy, he never hit for power.
Bell, Peterson, they all got this bunch of lefties. No arguments. I saw the stat, and then I saw Jansen catching today. I was like, the Red Sox are giving it a go, and it's worked so far. So walks are obviously still a big problem for him. 3 walks in those last 2 and 3 straight starts for Brian Bayo here. So, all right, working our way down here. Kiner Montero was a guy we keyed in on yesterday. $6,400. Yes, his overall numbers here don't look great. He does have a 3.5 ERA in August. That's these last 4 starts right here. 3.5 ERA in August. Over his last 4, he's 3-1. So the numbers have certainly gotten better for him during his minor league career this year and last year. His K/9 was well over 10. So while the strikeouts haven't necessarily translated this season, this would be a spot for him to find some success against the White Sox here. Do we still like Kiter in this 7K or under 7K range? Is there another value starting pitcher that, as you did the research for the playbook, that you're keying in on today?
So yes to both.
Okay.
Do like Kiter. Do have another name.
Okay.
I think the Kiter Montero stuff is interesting. And earlier today, I was looking at obviously just correlating some props and stuff. Kiter Montero had 16 and a half outs prop. That has been ballooned. It was being bet over. It's now at 17 and a half. Slight lean on the under, but still, I think that speaks to where what people think about this matchup, right? With Kiter Montero. I'd say the only issue, and it's the same issue we talked about last night, is righty power is something that's given him troubles. And obviously, Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn are like their two best power hitters, both hit from the right side. So there's that. I do like Hayden Birdsong tonight. And I think what the most interesting part about Hayden Birdsong tonight that I found was we have 28 starting pitchers this evening, right, John?
Yep.
4 of them had a strikeout prop set at 6.5, a line set at 6.5 or higher. 4 of 28. Rodon, Chris Sale, Luis Castillo, Hayden Birdsong was the 4th, right? And obviously, this is a very strikeout-prone offense in Seattle. You've already talked about the ballpark being an issue for anybody and everything that in relation to hitting.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at Hayden Birdsong, it's been very inconsistent. But what we do know is there is a very, very high strikeout ceiling. 12 and 8 in back-to-back starts, well over a strikeout per inning. The only issue with Hayden Birdsong has been depth of starts.
Yeah.
And like that obviously comes with the walks and the strikeout combination. But if you're telling me Hayden Birdsong has a potential for like 7 strikeouts, and obviously the lean is a little bit on the under, but just to set the line at 6.5 with a slate full of like really good pitchers tells me that there is a expectant outcome of a lot of strikeouts. So I like Hayden Birdsong in tournaments. I don't think there's as much win equity with Birdsong as there is Montero, because one of them faces Seattle, who's vying for a playoff spot. One of them is playing the White Sox, who's trying not to be the worst team ever, right? So I do think that there's more win equity with Montero, but I do think Hayden Birdsong at 6,600 is a fine value. And I think that I would say it's just we're talking pure upside. I would say Birdsong has a higher ceiling than Montero, but I think Montero is the safer option of the two because he gets the White Sox matchup. But like on a 14-game slate, John, I think more often than not we're looking for the ceiling rather than like a safer floor, right?
Agreed. Tyler O'Neill just scratched for the Red Sox here tonight, so Ryan Nelson maybe getting a little bit easier. Ryan Nelson also officially in the rotation. Jordan Montgomery moving to the bullpen. Nelson's obviously looked pretty good. The strikeout numbers for Nelson have looked really good. I know we largely have not looked to attack Red Sox at all, especially at home and especially against right-handed pitching. But given current form, I want to see your thoughts here.
I don't know. We've faded like really good pitchers in Fenway,
and it's worked.
So I'm not saying I disagree that Ryan Nelson's in good form, because he's in very good form. But will I be using him in this spot? I will not.
Okay. Let's go on over to catcher. Values where we tend to look. We got Alejandro Kirk hitting 4th tonight at $3,300 here. Has been a pretty solid staple of our lineups as long as he's kind of been in this spot. Where are you going at catcher? Is he the core play? What are your thoughts?
He's fine. I think the Blue Jays lineup's a little watered down with no Vladdy tonight. That obviously is not great. Obviously still a good spot. I'm good with spending up tonight. I like Will Smith. Love the Dodgers. Love the Dodgers tonight. $4,900 for Will Smith. He hits lefties really well. Yanyer Diaz hitting 4th tonight. Obviously, Povich has allowed a lot of home runs to right-handed bats. So I think those would be the two guys over $4,000 for me that I have interest in. And then you drop below $4,000. Kirk is in play. I think Jose Trevino hitting 6th is a little bit interesting. 3,200. for him. He's been good against lefties, and he's hitting in a pretty prime spot for the Yankees. So Trevino hitting sixth is really interesting. And then I am basically interested in punting the position. And I was waiting for which Cubs catcher was in. It's Miguel Amaya. He's been really good of late, including the Grand Slam. And then if you are fading Montero, which I don't, righty power has given him an issue. Corey Lee's 2,100 hitting sixth. I mean, you don't find many $2,100 catchers hitting that high up in the lineup. It's usually like ninth guy hitting 127 as your backup catcher. So either of those guys as punts would be fine.
Sure. At first base, again, you mentioned obviously no Vladdy. He had been a strong option for us the last couple of slates here. Where are you looking to start builds? Obviously, 14 games. We talked about this morning. There's just a billion players you can pick from here. 28 teams on the slate.
Yeah, this is one of the weaker first base positions for me. Like if you want to play Ohtani here, I think that's really strong. Tyler Alexander over 2 home runs per 9 to both lefties and righties this year. So he just serves it up to both splits. So I like Shohei. I'm good with Pete Alonso. Musgrove's been bad against right-handed variety hitters. So if you want to play Alonso in a little Met stack, you can. Freeman, I don't love the finger plus the lefty here. Pasquantino makes more sense to me. Taijuan Walker, bad against both splits. So I think Ohtani, Olsen, Pasquantino over 5K. And I just want to point out Tristan Casas on FanDuel is like $2,700. I would not play him at 48 on DraftKings, but at 20, I mean, it's 2,700. That is, I know Ryan Nelson doesn't allow home runs. This guy just can hit a home run against anybody.
I mean, he's been on fire since coming back from his injury too. So like the production's been there right in the middle of their lineup. If you didn't want to play Yanni, you're at catcher, you can play him at first, $4,800 as well there. Mentioned obviously lefties against Bayo, so Josh Bell. I like the Tigers. I think a lot of people are going to like the Tigers here tonight. Torkelson's 4K. I don't mind Bush hitting second also at 4K. Horowitz at $3,800. Also, I think an option for us tonight.
Yeah, I think Horowitz is like a really, really safe first base play. Nearly a 900 OPS against right-handed pitching. Hanowitz doesn't strike anybody out. Does get a lot of ground balls, but Horowitz has gotten a lot of extra base hits of last couple games. So I do like Horowitz 38. Andrew Vaughn in a tournament, if you're not playing Montero, is in play. Jonah Bride hits righties well. I know we've seen Kyle Hendricks be worse against lefties. And then all the way down, we talked about the Cavadas thing yesterday. We've talked about it for like 5 straight.
Oppo homer for him too. Wasn't even a pull homer.
He is your modern day Adam Dunn, where he's going to hit home runs, he's going to strike out, and he's going to walk. And he finally gave us the good portion of the program yesterday with the home run. If you want to just punt because we know how bad Bassett's been against left-handed bats, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't at least consider a $2,300 player.
I think you can go both him or DeZenzo here tonight at 2,300 against Povich, truthfully. Sure. I think both of those guys are probably playable. In one-offs, is DeZenzo probably fits a stack. More so Houston, you're not going to stack LA, but I think either of those guys probably work. Catcher. Second base, rather. We already talked catcher. Second base. Altuve versus a lefty, $5,400. Always been a core play in that matchup for a decade, what feels like at this point. Other than that, though, like I didn't really look to spend up at second. I mean, Massey against Walker at 45, maybe the next play.
Yep, that's the only one over. This is such a good value spot. I'm not really wasting my time up here.
Where are we going, value-wise?
Mentioned Horowitz, Glaber 39 leading off as we speculated yesterday. You can play Gavin Lux. He hasn't been as good as against lefties, but seeing Alexander allow so many home runs to both splits, I'm good with Gavin Lux if he's still in it, hitting in a prime position. Cole Keith, 3,600. Love the Tigers today, as mentioned by like multiple people. Merrifield is a little bit interesting. I kind of cooled it on the Braves. Mackenzie Gore has struggled. no power. Like nobody hits like home runs off him. So I'm good with like a one-off Merrifield or in some capacity like that. But like Will Wagner, $2,300 hitting fifth is just a really great value.
He played
Even
Sosa
at
the other day. He was good. I mean, you can
yeah,
really go either of those guys there. Wagner,
yeah,
obviously, in the middle of the lineup, a bit more appealing there, but
yeah, yep.
can't really argue. You can, and Sosa has dual positional eligibility, so if you wanted to get them both in there, you can rather. So, third base, Ramirez up the top, Devers, Lewis, Bregman, Jazz in the lineup, Berger,
Yes.
and Machado and Chapman are your 5K and up guys.
I hate that Jazz is back. I don't know.
I thought. I mean, did they let his elbow heal? I guess, and
Yeah, suddenly he's good. Right. Said he might. Hopefully they get him back before the end of the year. And suddenly,
so he's ready to go.
Ready to go. 10 minimum stay on the IL.
Yeah.
I think Bregman with the power last month over a 300 isolated power against left-handed pitching is really intriguing. That's like my intrigue in the 5K tier. I don't have much else. Machado's been really good against, or Blackburn has been really bad against right-handed pitching, right-handed hitting. Royce Lewis gets a guy in a reverse split and at home that he's been great in. But another position I have not found myself really spending up. I do have interest. I think this is a Mark Vientos home run spot against Joe Musgrove. Musgrove's been terrible against righty power, which is why I gave Alonso the shout.
Yeah.
And obviously Vientos is like better against lefties, but he's just a powerful dude. Like he's just always live for a home run. So Vientos 4,900, and then just more value.
Ernie, I'll swing at anything over my head, Clement,
and hit a home run on it.
3 straight games for Ernie Clement. So
paying homage to Vlad Sr., obviously. I mean, Clement 36, moving up one spot in the lineup is elite. I have been really high, and I even wrote him up in the playbook today. Paul DeJong. I know Paul DeJong isn't like an exciting play, but when you look at Taijuan Walker, 2.19 home runs per 9 innings to right-handed bats this year. 369 WOBA. And Paul DeJong, in his sample with the Royals, 1,200 OPS leads the team. 407 ISO leads the team. 504 WOBA leads the team. That's against right-handed pitching since he's joined the team. I mean, ball doesn't lie, right? 18 of his 21 home runs this year have come against right-handed pitching. 788 OPS, 237 ISO, 338 WOBA over the span of the year. Like that's his. I mean, 237 ISO against right-handed pitching is an elite number. We're talking about Paul DeJong. $3,200 for a cheap home run against Taijuan Walker is like, I think that's like very much in the cards here. So I really like spending down on DeJong's.
At second base, we like Will Wagner for value.
Everyone under 4K. You could just there's like 9 players under 4K.
Yeah, most of them there. Shortstop. Spend it up.
You can. Mr. Whit is I mean, again, it's a really good spot for righties. It's a good spot for everybody. But it's a good spot for righties here. And he's obviously amazing at home. He's obviously just amazing in general. So absolutely fine playing Bobby Witt. I don't have a lot of interest in it in the rest of this tier. Like you could play any of them because they're elite baseball players, but
I think we highlighted Seager just for the cost this morning.
Yeah, it's a cost play. We didn't mention Jace Jung at third, by the way, as well. Who's
true. He's so down here. I just forget that he is as cheap as he is, but he is. Where is he? 20? Is he 30 something? Where's Jace Jung?
No, he's 24.
24. That's Gio. We want Jace. There we go. 2,400. 100%.
So that's there. And you said Seager. Yeah, Seager's fine. I think in the mid tier, like Jeremy Pena is probably the top guy here. He's been really good lately. He's been good against lefties this year. So him, Volpe in the 4K range, and then you could play Clement. I think Tommy Edman. You look at you talked about the splits for Tommy Edman last night. He's $3,500, and I think the Dodgers are my favorite stack of the night. And this is a way that you afford the Dodgers because everyone else is a gajillion dollars. Tommy Edman for his career, 807 OPS, 208 ISO, 342 WOBA. That's like a 7-year sample where he just hits lefties extremely well. So $3,500, Tommy Edman, shortstop eligible. And then I said it. I mean, Trey Sweeney homered another lefty against Flexen. And I was looking at because they've been taking Flexen out pretty early. They've been pitching him like 70 pitches and taking him out. I think one, because he sucks, and two, he sucks, but he stinks rather.
His outs line is at 14.5 today, and he's gone under in 5 of 6.
They have the 3rd worst bullpen ERA as well. So even when they turn it over to the bullpen, it's terrible. So I think Trey Sweeney for a cheap home run, just continue our. I wish we got I don't understand why we haven't got a Tigers lineup. Not that I see one anywhere. But I'm anxiously waiting for a Tigers lineup that we haven't gotten yet. So that'll be interesting to see.
Agreed. Outfield. Obviously, you kind of find your stack and pick the top guy, but very clear that it's Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, both, one or the other. Probably Judge, but can't really go wrong here.
Yeah, one guy has 7 home runs in his last 10. One guy has 8 home runs in his last 10. One guy could
win. One guy's going to win the Triple Crown in the American League.
One guy is going to break the record for home runs in the American League that he broke 2 years ago after hitting 2 of them in the first month of the year.
There was a ball in the zone to Aaron Judge today. He should be just benched, right?
Did you see? I don't know if you saw my tweet. So Anthony Volpe is plus 900 to hit a home run today. Aaron Judge is plus 900 to hit 2 home runs today.
Yeah. Did you see that Aaron Judge has 0 home runs in the upper quadrant of the strike zone?
Yeah, he has not done great, but nobody. I mean, he is also 37 feet tall, so nobody's used to throwing it in the upper.
Nobody's throwing high enough for him, but he has 0 home runs in the upper third. You know how they do the batting box heat map?
Yep.
0 home runs in the top row.
You know who has that data? Every baseball team across the league.
Yeah.
You know who doesn't use it?
Everybody else, yeah.
I mean, look, he's the best player in baseball. It's just you play the guy. Now, I do think you can play Ohtani, you can play Soto, you can play Jordan, you can play Mookie. I think all 5 of those top names over $6,000 are in the same tier tonight. Yep. Because I think Ohtani and Mookie are just as live to homer as Soto and Judge are with the matchups they have.
I agree. No arguments. We had Schwarber lock from our guy IC3U in the chat. Locking in Schwarber there.
I'm assuming that's a BVP. It has to be a BVP thing because IC3U was looking. He probably 4 for 14 with 4 home runs.
Remember when Corbin was $4,200 or whatever it was, and we're like, you got to play him because he's not that. Well, now he's back up to 55. So
yeah, I mean they're all so expensive.
Agreed.
Jock is 48 as well. Jake McCarthy's 47. So I mean Arizona's their lefties are super live, but
yeah. Rooker's there against Savale. We're not going to do Wood versus Sale. Dylan Cruz soon to come to a lineup near you Monday. We'll have Dylan Cruz out there. I like Detroit guys. Green being 5K is whatever, but I'm good going there against Flexen. Flexen almost a 600 slugging allowed to lefties. So
yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
Not good. A lot of lefties going to be in this lineup against it for Detroit tonight. So. Hernandez Teoscar gets the lefty matchup. We like that. Jock Peterson, as you mentioned. Soler versus Gore. That feels like a power play for Soler in second tonight at 48.
Yeah, I like it. I don't love, I'm not saying the Braves can't get to Mackenzie Gore. I just don't love that he hasn't allowed a lot of home runs.
Sure.
He just hasn't thrown strikes. He's just not throwing strikes. And, 5 home runs his last 10 starts, 11 in 25 starts. There's just not a lot of power, but there's anyone that can get there. Like the two guys hitting 2 and 3 in this lineup can definitely do it.
Agreed. Jackson Merrill, 46. Where else are we going in this mid tier? Springer leading off, probably a good spot too.
Yep, Springer. Then like the lower fours. I am really intrigued by Luis Robert because Kyler Montero is popular and because like he does struggle with righty power, and Luis Robert still can be that dude. He just hasn't clearly cared and he swings at everything. So 4,100 for Luis Robert in tournaments as a one-off, or pair him with Andrew Vaughn. Dalton Varsho 4K. He's been better of late. That would probably round it out for me in the 4K tier personally.
Under $4,000, some good value plays on today's slate. Where are some of your core targets for this?
Core targets: MJ Melendez, 35. We just had the comment by our boy Anthony here. Walker sucks, and you know what? As a Phillies, Anthony is a very positive Philly fan, at least usually. But when you see that says something, right? Taijuan Walker has not been good pre-injury or post-injury, and he allows a lot of home runs. And Melendez has over 2 home runs per night, or over a 200 ISO against right-handed pitching this year. So I like Melendez, 35, hitting 5th. Same thing can be said for Renfroe. Like if you want to play Royals in general, I think they're really interesting. Parker Meadows, $3,400. It's very intriguing. He should lead off here. A lot of stolen bases lately, 4 in his last 10 games.
Parker Meadows a lot tonight.
Yeah.
Lead off and all that stuff. So.
Yes. I mean, lead off the stolen bases, there's a lot to like. Jesus Sanchez. Kyle Hendricks has really struggled with lefty power. And we know Jesus Sanchez is live always for just a 1-for-4 with a home run. So, and we're getting Walker has heat with Philly fans, I'm sure. Because you guys probably tell him he sucks, like you do to everyone that sucks, except Trey Turner. You guys give him a standing ovation. But yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it that he hasn't pitched well. So, Philly fans are very unrelenting when it comes to players that are not doing well in their city.
So I like the Sanchez for the power play there. Anybody else for value for you? Do you think Benintendi against Montero could be a play?
Benny biceps? I mean, if you want to play the top 3 White Sox, go for it. Right? Go for it. Or 2, 3, 4, go for it. I think Ramon Laureano is fine at $2,800. He's been really good for the Braves, hitting in the middle of their lineup, hitting 5th.
Luperfito's got 2 hits in 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, Luperfito's been really good, and a lot of extra base hits in that span. I mean, 2 triples and a home run over that span, moving up a little bit in the lineup. And Kohanowitz does not miss bats. So, that's a good thing because Luperfito has a real big problem with strikeouts. So, I'm good with Luperfito for sure.
Anything else?
No.
Alrighty. Let's go and build a lineup then.
Something has to be up with the Tigers, no? That we haven't gotten a lineup yet?
Possible.
Weird. It's 8:10 game. For 2 hours, just over 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We should have a lineup for Seattle. That's 10 o'clock. We have a Seattle lineup already. There has to be something going on with Detroit.
So what else are we thinking?
I don't know. I want to use Detroit. Do we like Hunter Brown? Yeah, I like Hunter Brown. I don't like him as much as
because I was initially iffy on Hunter Brown, but he's another one with really good lefty out splits. So if you're a believer in what I said yesterday, which worked out for Arrighetti, Hunter Brown's actually been as good against lefties. So,
and he keeps the ball on the ground.
Yep.
He misses bats and gets a lot of ground balls. I have no issues getting to Hunter Brown. Do I think Hunter Brown has as much strikeout upside as Rodon? I don't. But Hunter Brown could go 7 1-run, 6 strikeouts, and that is and a win, and that's he's a super good pitcher. But I do like Castillo and Rodon a little bit more for just a little bit more.
Sure. All right, let's get a lineup build going then. Where do you want to start?
Rodon. And then do you like Montero or
I think it's Kiter still, but
I mean, I think Kiter is, again, I think he's the safer play for sure. I'm not saying I don't disagree. I wrote him up in today's playbook. You guys can find it at fantasyalarm.com, but I'm just saying I also think Birdsong has a higher strikeout ceiling.
Okay, so you like Birdsong then?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, look, Montero is good. He's cheaper. He's in a good spot. 7K per 9. Birdsong's over a strikeout rating. So I think that there's Maya. Yep. Tigers. Do I like Willie Castro? I mean, yeah. Fine. I would say that there's better value, but that's a FanDuel question for sure because Willie Castro is not second base eligible on DraftKings.
Yeah. Who do you want to play at second? Wagner?
Probably.
47.50. What's your?
I want more Dodgers here. So we played
you want Dodgers?
Yes. We played like Edman at short, and then either getting up to Mookie or Ohtani or Teoscar. Because you could actually.
I mean, you might be able to play them both.
Yeah, because you could play, and then we have Jace Jung. Yeah. Oh.
$300 left over. Rodon, Montero, Amaya, Ohtani, Wagner, Young, Edman, Judge, Meadows, Betts. So we got Judge, Betts, Ohtani in a single lineup. We got a little two-man Meadows, Young stack for the Tigers here. Ohtani, Edman, Betts. We talked about for that stack. One off Judge, one off of Amaya, one off of Wagner for some value. Looks like a lot of power to me.
Dude, Tyler Alexander, Braves or the Dodgers have over a 5 implied run total. Alexander allowing over 2 home runs per 9 innings to both splits. I mean, there is a lot of home run equity built into the Dodgers tonight.
All right, guys. So that's a look at our example lineup. Make sure you check out the playbook. Get over there on Fantasy Alarm. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win to sign up and become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family today if you're not doing so already, as I mentioned before. Now is the best time to sign up. Promo code Let's Go gets that first month for less than $20. Comes with your Fantasy Alarm draft guide and Fantasy Alarm cheat sheet for your fantasy football drafts. So you can take advantage of that offer today. It also gives you the first 3 weeks of the NFL DFS season included in that first month there. So that first month comes out to $19.97. You get access to all of our premium content. So check it out. fantasyalarm.com/win. Promo code Let's Go. We'll be back on Monday. Good luck, everybody, in your drafts, your lineups, your DFS contests. We'll catch you then.